important than making it as a Tumblr blogger, and I was hellbent on having an aesthetic feed. I know, first world problems. Luckily enough for me, I had a little something called privilege, and by age 13, I owned my own DSLR camera. Most people are not that lucky. They aren't given the same opportunities to fall in love with the way photos can tell a story, or the means to share experiences they are proud of and moments in their day that they find special with a click. Photography is a privileged hobby. From the camera to the editing software and extra equipment, the cost of photography can add up. I grew up in Singapore, a vastly multicultural environment at the center of many international dialogues. Living in a city-state surrounded by third-world countries, I was privy to a whole other's perspective towards community service and outreach. It wasn't uncommon for my middle school to host service trips abroad during the school year, and I traveled to countries like Bhutan, Cambodia, Indonesia, Taiwan, and the Philippines to participate in service learning projects not dissimilar to the spring break service trips here at SPS. These trips had served as striking reminders of the differences in my life that make an education, a home, and 3 meals a day non-negotiable, and a 7th grader's dream of pursuing photography a reality. Barely scraping by the 10-hour mark on Millville for COP in third form, I had lost contact with the global perspective and hindsight to think beyond what was in front of me. I felt there was a distance between our comfortable life here at St. Paul's and the ongoings across the ocean. It's one thing to hear of the experiences or individuals in poverty, but we can hardly truly comprehend what life looks like for these families and children without seeing it firsthand. Wanting to help bridge this gap, I began looking for ways to contribute back to those communities I had once worked with years ago. When the Missionary Society opened up applications for the summer Sokoloff Grant, I saw the perfect opportunity to combine my love of photography and my desire to cultivate a broader sense of cultural and international awareness. With the support of Mrs. Taylor and the grant provided by Mr. Sokoloff, I was able to create the Pixel Project. After a long process of planning and budgeting in the spring term, I used the grant in addition to materials collected during donation drives to assemble photography kits consisting of cameras, tripods, SD cards, and a written manual with instructions. As a second part of the project, I launched a website where I published the images submitted to me by the kit users. Unlike words that may falter at language and cultural barriers, the stories told through pictures don't get lost in translation. A photographer's story can be appreciated and interpreted by anyone who view their images. It was my hope that, like pixels that make up a bigger picture, the images that were taken could help create a fuller understanding of this world that we all share. This past summer, I brought one of these kits to Taiwan's mountainous countryside. Partnering up with an after-school daycare center I'd volunteered at the summer before third form year, I got the rare opportunity to work with the same kids I'd engaged with all those years ago, except this time they were all half a foot taller, and their voices were unable to reach the high notes in the Frozen soundtrack we'd once belted on the top of our lungs. Many of the children were a part of low-income, single-parent households and didn't have a supervised place to go after school. The center aimed to provide a safe space for the kids to hang out, study, and learn new skills. Over the span of a week, I ran an activity at the center for a group of 7 kids to guide them through the basic foundations of photography. Over time, I saw them gain confidence in their skills. They took charge behind the camera lens, telling friends to pose this way or that way, or twisting themselves into funky angles to get the perfect shot. The cameras had given them what my DSLR had given me, a reason to pursue curiosity, a creative way to share experiences with the world, and a lifelong hobby to find joy in. Today, I'm still learning and expanding my perspectives through the photos and stories that have come out of the Pixel Project. Looking at the submitted images of smiling siblings and of humble homes, I'm reminded of how, despite our differences, this fundamental truth is the same. Show someone you are listening, that you care and are willing to look through their lens, and the stories you will discover can only broaden the horizons of your perspectives. I urge you to reach out to those whose stories aren't heard enough and ensure that someone is listening. Only then can we begin to truly understand how we can make a positive difference in their lives. Thank you.